My wife yelled at 4 a.m. "Stop interrogating me. You don't own me." I replied quietly, "You're right." That was the last conversation we ever had. I left that very night. 6 years later, she appeared at a hospital for a routine appointment and froze when the nurse asked if she knew me. I'm 36 now, single, and working as a physician assistant in a busy urban hospital. 6 years ago, I was 30, married for 4 years, and thought I had everything figured out. My ex-wife and I met in college. She was studying communications. I was pre-med. We were that couple everyone assumed would make it. We got married right after I completed my PA program, moved into a decent apartment, adopted a dog, and ticked off all the usual relationship milestones. For the first 2 years, things were genuinely good. We had arguments like any couple, but nothing serious. We talked about buying a house, maybe having kids in a few years. Then she got a promotion at her marketing firm, taking on new responsibilities, a new team, and longer hours. I encouraged her, proud she was recognized for her hard work. But the promotion brought changes I hadn't anticipated. She began going out more. After-work drinks with colleagues evolved into late dinners, weekend team events, and industry conferences requiring overnight stays. At first, I didn't worry. Her career was thriving, and I supported her. But by the 3rd month, I noticed smaller, troubling signs. She'd come home at midnight or later, sometimes smelling of alcohol and cigarettes, even though she'd never smoked. Her phone was always face down, and she changed the password we had shared. She took calls in other rooms, closing doors behind her. When I asked about her day, her answers became vague. "Just work stuff," she'd say. "You wouldn't understand the project. It's complicated." I tried raising my concerns gently. "I feel like we never talk anymore. Like you're somewhere else even when you're here." She became immediately defensive. "I'm working hard. Sorry if that's not enough for you." "I'm not saying it's not enough. I'm saying I miss you. Miss us. Maybe if you weren't so needy, we'd be fine." The word stung, needy, for wanting to spend time with my wife, for wanting to know what was happening in her life. This pattern continued for months. I'd stay up waiting for her. She'd stumble in after midnight, brush past me silently, lock herself in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Some nights, she didn't come home at all, texting around 2 a.m. that she was crashing at a colleague's because she'd had too much to drink. I wanted to trust her, but my gut screamed that something was wrong. About 8 months into her promotion, I reached my limit. It was a Friday night, nearly 4 a.m., and she still hadn't returned. She'd texted at 11 p.m., saying she'd be late, then nothing for 5 hours. No response to calls or messages. She finally walked in at 3:47 a.m. I had been pacing in the living room, unable to sleep. "Where were you?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "Out with the team. I told you. You said you'd be late, not gone all night." "It's not all night. It's barely 4 o'clock. You couldn't text. Couldn't call." She dropped her purse on the counter and kicked off her heels. "Oh God. Here we go with the interrogation." "I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking why you didn't come home or communicate for 5 hours." "Because I was having fun, actually enjoying myself for once, instead of coming home to this." "To what?" "To your husband who's worried about you." She laughed, sharp and bitter. "Worried? You mean controlling? How is wanting to know if I'm safe controlling? You always make me feel guilty for having a life outside of you. You sit here waiting like some pathetic..." She stopped herself. "Like some pathetic what?" "Nothing. Forget it." "No, say it. You're going to call me something, so say it." "You're suffocating me," she yelled. "Every day, it's where are you? What are you doing? When are you coming home? I can't breathe. I ask because you're never here anymore. You've changed completely and won't talk to me. Nothing is going on. I'm working, building a career. Sorry if that's not exciting enough for you. Is there someone else?" I asked. The question hung in the air. She froze. What did you just say? Are you seeing someone? Her face twisted with a mix of rage and disgust. Unbelievable. You're accusing me of cheating. I'm asking. There's a difference. No, you're accusing. You stand here at 4 a.m. acting like you own me, like I owe you an explanation for every second of my day. Stop interrogating me. You don't own me. I felt something snap inside me, not violently, not with anger, just a quiet thread breaking from being stretched too thin. You're right, I said softly. I don't own you. I never wanted to. I just wanted a partner who cared enough to come home or at least call. She stared at me for a moment. I thought she might say something real, something like we used to talk about, but her expression hardened. I'm going to bed. I have work in the morning. She walked past me toward the bedroom. I stood in the living room, watching the sun rise, realizing I was done. Not angry, just exhausted and empty. While she was in the bathroom, I packed a duffel bag with clothes, toiletries, my laptop, grabbed my work badge and keys, and left. I didn't leave a note or send a text. I simply walked out. That first night, I crashed at a friend's place and slept maybe 2 hours. I woke to 17 missed calls and around 30 texts from her. They followed a predictable pattern. First, frantic, where did you go? Are you serious? Middle batch. Okay, you made your point. Come home so we can talk. I'm sorry, I yelled. Final ones. Fine, be that way. See if I care. I didn't respond. My friend, who I'd known since undergrad, asked what happened. I gave a brief version. He had met my wife a few times at gatherings and always described her as nice but distant. You think she's cheating? He asked. Yeah, I do. Do you want to know for sure? I thought about it. Did I? Would it change anything? I'd already left. Already decided I was done. Did I need confirmation? No. Even if she wasn't cheating, the person I married had checked out months ago. I stayed at my friend's for a week, then moved into a studio apartment closer to the hospital where I worked. I filed for divorce 2 weeks after I left. The papers were served to her at work, which I didn't intend but couldn't control. She called me immediately after being served, and that time I answered. Are you kidding me right now? Her voice was shrill and panicked. You're divorcing me over one fight? Over months of you disappearing? Over you treating me like I'm the problem for caring? Over whatever you've been doing that you couldn't talk to me about? I haven't been doing anything. Then why couldn't you come home? Why couldn't you answer your phone? Why did you lock yourself in the bathroom for 20 minutes at 4 in the morning? Silence. That's what I thought. She said. If you do this, we're done forever. You understand that. That's kind of the point of divorce. You'll regret this. When you're alone and realize you threw away 4 years of marriage over your own insecurity, you'll regret it. Maybe, but I'll regret staying more. I hung up. She called back multiple times. I blocked her number. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. She didn't contest it or fight for anything. We split our minimal assets. She kept the apartment lease. I took the dog, since she'd never really bonded with him anyway. It was a clean legal break, but emotionally it took longer. Over the next 2 years, I threw myself into work, picked up extra shifts, volunteered for the worst schedules, and took on additional training. The hospital became my life. It was easier than dealing with the aftermath of a failed marriage, easier than dating, easier than examining what I could have done differently. Through mutual friends, I heard she'd moved on quickly and started publicly dating someone from her office about 3 months after the divorce was finalized. They got engaged within a year. I felt nothing when I heard that. No anger, no vindication, just a distant sense of, yeah, that tracks. I dated sporadically, nothing serious. First dates always led to the question, so why did your marriage end? And I never had a good answer that didn't make me sound bitter or make her sound terrible. I usually said, we grew apart, which was true enough. The hospital kept me busy. I worked my way up to a senior PA position, helped train new staff, and found purpose in the work. Patients don't care about your personal life. They just need you to be competent and present, and I could do that. By year 4 post-divorce, I was in a good place. I had a routine, work I cared about, friends I saw regularly. I wasn't looking for a relationship, but I wasn't opposed to one either. I existed in a comfortable, stable middle ground. Then year 6 happened. It was a Tuesday afternoon, a routine clinic day. I was seeing patients in the hospital's outpatient care center, working through a standard schedule of post-op follow-ups and medication adjustments. Nothing unusual. Around 2 p.m., the nurse called me over. "We've got a walk-in who needs a quick blood pressure check and a clearance form signed. Can you squeeze her in?" "Sure, put her in room 3. I grabbed the tablet with her intake forms, glanced at the name, and felt absolutely nothing. It was common enough and didn't register. I walked into the exam room, eyes still on the tablet. "Hi, I'm just going to check your blood pressure real quick." And then I looked up. She was sitting on the exam table, frozen, face completely pale, staring at me like she'd seen a ghost. My brain short-circuited for about 3 seconds. Then professional training took over. I kept my expression neutral and my voice even. "Good afternoon. Let's get your vitals." Her voice, when she found it, was shaky and small. "I didn't know you worked here." 6 years now. The nurse came in cheerful and oblivious, wrapping the blood pressure cuff around her arm. "You two know each other?" I met my ex-wife's eyes and let the silence stretch just long enough to be uncomfortable. "We used to," I said finally. The nurse, to her credit, picked up on the tension and hurried through the reading. 120/78. Nice and normal. "I'll let you finish up." She left, closing the door behind her. We were alone in the small exam room. My ex-wife spoke first. "I had no idea you worked here. My doctor's office is in this building, and they said I could get the clearance form done downstairs instead of making another appointment." "It's fine. I can sign off on this. How have you been?" I almost laughed at the absurdity of the question. 6 years of silence, and that's how she starts. "Good. You?" "I'm okay. I got married. Had a baby. That's actually why I need this form, for daycare enrollment." I nodded, still processing. She was married, had a child, had fully moved on. "Congratulations," I said, and meant it. No sarcasm, no bitterness, just acknowledgement. She looked like she wanted to say more, opening her mouth and closing it again. Finally she said, "I'm sorry for how things ended. For how I treated you." I set the tablet down. "Okay. Just okay. What do you want me to say? It was 6 years ago. We're different people now." "I know, but I've thought about reaching out so many times, thought about apologizing. I was terrible to you. You deserved better." "Yeah, I did." She flinched. "I was seeing someone the whole time during those last few months." "You were right." I picked the tablet back up and continued filling out the form. "I know." "How did you know?" "Because I'm not an idiot. And because you just confirmed it. He's not who I married. That fell apart about a year after we divorced. I married someone else. Someone better. Good for you. Are you seeing anyone?" "That's not really relevant to this appointment." She went quiet. I finished the form, signed it, and printed it from the wall unit. "You're all set. The form's good for 90 days. She took it, her hands shaking slightly. "Thank you." I moved toward the door, professional smile in place. "Take care of yourself." "Wait." I stopped with my hand on the door handle. "Can we talk? Actually talk. Maybe get coffee or something." I turned back and really looked at her for the first time since walking in. She'd aged, obviously, but more than that she looked tired, worn down in a way that had nothing to do with having a baby and everything to do with carrying guilt. "Why?" I asked. Because I owe you a real apology, a real explanation. I've been carrying this for 6 years and I need to. To what? Absolve yourself. Make yourself feel better? Give you closure. I almost laughed. I got closure 6 years ago when I walked out. I'm good. Please, just one conversation. 30 minutes. I should have said no. I should have walked out, maintained the boundary, kept my life separate from that chapter. But something in her desperation, or maybe my own curiosity, made me pause. Fine. One conversation. There's a cafe in the lobby. 20 minutes. That's all I can spare. We sat in the hospital cafe, two strangers with a shared history. Coffee neither of us really wanted growing cold between us. She started talking before I could settle into my chair, like she'd been holding it in for years and the dam had finally broken. His name was my boss, she said. The one I was sleeping with. It started about 2 months into the promotion. He was charming, paid attention to me, made me feel important. I know how that sounds, she added quickly. I know it's a cliché, but when you're working 70-hour weeks and your husband is asleep by the time you get home, someone making you feel seen. I made you feel seen, said quietly. Until you stopped letting me. She nodded, tears beginning to form. I know you did. I pulled away because the guilt was eating me alive. Every time you asked where I was or when I'd be home, I felt like you could see right through me. So I got defensive, pushed you away, blamed you for caring. You made me feel crazy, like I was the problem. You were never the problem, I said. I was. I was selfish and cowardly, and I destroyed the best thing I had because I was too weak to just be honest. I sipped my coffee, letting her continue. That night, the 4 a.m. fight, I'd been with him. We'd had this big industry event, and afterward, a group went to a hotel bar. Everyone else left around midnight. We stayed, went up to his room. I'd been lying to myself for months that it was just emotional, just friendship. But that night, I don't need the details, I said. Right. Sorry. When I got home and you asked where I'd been, I panicked, got angry instead of honest. And when you asked if there was someone else, I could have just said yes, could have ended it there with some dignity, but I doubled down on the lie instead. Why are you telling me this now? She wiped her eyes. Because my therapist says I can't move forward until I face what I did. Because my husband knows about you, but not the real story. Because I have a daughter now, and the thought of someone treating her the way I treated you makes me sick. Your husband doesn't know you cheated. He knows the marriage ended. Doesn't know why. I told him we grew apart. I shook my head. You should tell him. He deserves to know who we married. That's not fair. I'm not that person anymore. Maybe not, but he should still know what happens if he finds out some other way. If an old colleague mentions it, you think that'll go better. She looked down at her coffee. You're right. I know you're right. We sat in silence for a minute. I checked my watch. I need to get back. Thank you for listening. I know I don't deserve it. I stood up. I hope you have a good life. I hope you're better to him than you were to me. And I hope your daughter never has to learn these lessons the hard way. Do you hate me? I thought about it, really considered the question. No. I did for a while, but mostly I just feel nothing. You're a stranger who used to be important. That's it. I walked away, threw my untouched coffee in the trash, and went back to work. Saw 4 more patients that afternoon, went home to my quiet apartment, fed my dog, made dinner, watched TV, went to bed. Normal, stable, uncomplicated. That was 8 months ago. Haven't seen or heard from her since. Don't expect to. The hospital is big enough that we'd have to actively run into each other. I did some thinking afterward, talked to my therapist, processed the whole thing, and realized that as much as she'd hurt me 6 years ago, I'd genuinely moved on. Seeing her again didn't reopen old wounds. It just reminded me why I'd left. I started dating someone seriously about 4 months ago, met through a friend. She's a teacher with her own life and interests. We see each other twice a week, text daily, take things slow. She knows about the divorce, the basic story, doesn't press for details I'm not ready to share. Last week, she asked if I'd ever consider marriage again. I told her honestly, maybe with the right person, but not for a long time. She said that was fair, she felt the same. No pressure, no rush. Just two people figuring it out together. That's what it should have been the first time. Two people figuring it out together, not one lying and the other slowly losing themselves trying to hold it together. Through the mutual friend network, I heard my ex-wife did tell her current husband about the cheating. He apparently took it hard. They went to couples counseling and are working through it. I genuinely hope they make it. I hope she learned something from what she did to both of us. The dog is still with me, 13 now, gray around the muzzle, but happy. Best part of that marriage, honestly. Work is still good, fulfilling, and keeps me busy enough to not dwell on the past. And that's really the end of it. Sometimes closure isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's just a 20-minute conversation in a hospital cafe where you realize the person who once had the power to devastate you no longer does. Where you can look at them and feel nothing but mild curiosity and relief that you got out when you did. She wanted absolution I couldn't give, wanted me to say it was okay that I forgave her, that we could part as friends, but I don't owe her that. Don't owe her anything. The fact that I don't hate her is gift enough. I left 6 years ago at 4 a.m. with a duffel bag and a broken heart. Walked out on a marriage that was already over. Best decision I ever made. Not because it led to some amazing transformation or perfect revenge plot, but because it led to peace. To waking up every morning not wondering where my partner was or if they were lying. To building a life that's genuinely mine, not a carefully maintained performance for someone who stopped caring. That's the lesson, I guess. Sometimes you don't get dramatic closure. Sometimes you just get to walk away and build something better. And 6 years later, when the ghost of your past shows up in an exam room, you get to look at them and realize you're completely fine. That they're just another patient needing a form signed, that the person who once had the power to devastate you is now just someone you used to know. And that's enough.